More than 150 experts attended a meeting hosted by the World Health Organization in Geneva to update its guidance to countries on how to survive and defeat this deadly global epidemic. The H5N1 avian flu virus has infected flocks in much of Asia, Africa, and parts of Europe. American scientists fear it could mutate into a form that passes easily from person to person, sparking an influenza pandemic that could kill millions. According to many scientists, the risk of a pandemic remains and is probably expanding. They emphasize that the highly pathogenic H5N1 virus has persisted on 3 continents and has caused human cases in Indonesia, Egypt, and China. Scientists have realized that the spread through migratory birds hasn't stopped. They say once the virus is established in birds, it's difficult to get rid of the virus and the risk to contaminated human beings. The avian flu virus rarely infects people, but there have been 387 human cases worldwide since 2003, 245 of them fatal. Infected people can shed the virus before symptoms appear, and this increases the risk of international spread through asymptomatic air travelers. Most countries have drawn up pandemic plans, but the level of preparedness varies. 16 companies are working on vaccines to prevent bird flu infection in people. Most British scientists accuse the British government of being very relaxed. They're also critical of the government's optimistic attitude to a potentially devastating pandemic, comparing it to the complacency over bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or BSE, commonly known as mad cow disease, MCD, a decade ago. British scientists say the number of deaths has been greatly underestimated. They expect the flu, like the 1918 pandemic that killed more people than the First World War, to cause the deaths of many people from pneumonia. Experts warn that illness in health workers could be the first sign the disease has begun to be infectious in humans, bringing a pandemic much closer. Pandemics occur when a new virus spreads rapidly among people with little or no immunity. In the U.S., Minnesota is taking serious steps to prepare for the attack. The state has stockpiled about 85% of the antiviral medication it's entitled to buy from drug companies to prepare for an avian flu attack. Minnesota has already spent more than $4 million on antiviral drugs. U.S. and other Western intelligence agencies are working with highly classified information indicating Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist organizations are planning attacks using biotechnology. These plans are said to call for squads of suicide-willing terrorists who would deliberately infect themselves with a human-transmittable strain of bird flu or a human-transmissible form bioengineered to be easily passed between humans, and then to spread the virus as widely around the world as they can by traveling on one international flight after another. While in the United States, investigators from People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, documented numerous acts of egregious and sadistic cruelty to animals at a Butterball turkey slaughterhouse in Ozark, Arkansas. A terror-exacerbated pandemic could kill millions around the world in less than 24 hours. One study even reiterates that this virus could be the virtual extinction of humankind. PETA found that registered Butterball workers were cruelly slamming live birds in shackles, and one strangled a bird to death. One worker said he likes to kill birds for fun and pointed out he'd punched one in the face.
The day I started, one worker picked up shackled birds and punched them in the necks. I guess he was bored or thought it was fun. The same day, another guy told me how he broke a bird's back with his knee, and then he broke her legs after shackling her. I could tell this is going to be a horrific investigation. At this plant, about 50,000 birds were shackled and slaughtered every day. Day after day, workers would carelessly grab birds from coops and slam their weak legs into shackles. It's a violent process. The birds are scared and flapping their legs often break. Live birds often get caught in their coops. Once when a bird's leg got caught, one worker just ripped it right off of her body.
Mistreating animals is considered a sin in Islam. A Muslim is responsible for the care of animals so much that an ill-treated animal will testify against the one who abused it on the Day of Judgment. Islam forbids branding animals and killing them in vain, such as for sport. The Prophet Muhammad forbade people to capture birds, burn anthills, and whip animals. Even in slaughtering animals for food, Islam requires that the slaughtering be done according to Islamic procedure, which is humane and aims to cause the animals as little suffering as possible.
Against the metal bars of the transport trucks and the coops, and even into the concrete walls. One day, one of the workers swung a bird like a baseball bat into the handrail of a staircase. The bird's spine was exposed and there was blood everywhere. This guy just laughed about it.
When they start doing that, you can't control them. Bad smoke gets these fucking shafts, or he'll look these fucking straight. Keep it right in the head. That's football.
Scientists say the terrorist component of a pandemic could be devastating to the planet and must be considered in any response planning because it changes the dynamic of a natural pandemic and requires considerably different planning and far more resources to deal with it.
Workers like to play this sick game where they throw carcasses of dead birds at those still alive. These birds were terrified and confused.
People have been led to believe that terrible plagues and terrorist attacks were a thing of the past, but all that has changed.